guys are so quiet. A little surprise, we're going to do the electric slide at the end of our talk, so just get ready.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do it?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so working with brands, luxury brands, especially in the fashion space, and creating immersive experiences, what would you say, how does augmented reality transform the relationship between luxury brands and their audience? And could you provide an example of a campaign that significantly enhanced the audience engagement through AR?
Sure. Yeah, so I think brands are enabled to realize a much deeper connection with their audiences through AR because they're mostly very personalized experiences, especially if you look at try-ons. You're trying on a physical product in a virtual manner, basically. And I think that's very important. If you look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're basically born with a screen glued to their hands. So I think they also expect from brands to be approached in a different way, that they understand that they're actually talking to them. Yeah. And I think therefore it's very important for brands to innovate and to make sure that these audiences are approached in a different way than traditional media, than traditional digital media. So I think specifically creating this deeper connection is very important for the brands as well, because these are specifically for fashion and luxury brands, like we do a lot for LVMH. These are the shoppers from the future. So you already want to make sure that they understand, that they think that they understand you. So I think that's the biggest reason for these brands to dive into AR and to think about how they can generate this higher form of engagement with their audiences.
Yeah, I love that, especially because these legacy brands and luxury brands are showing us how the technologies can be used. Being at the forefront, knowing that they have to stay relevant for these young audiences and finding new ways to bring a new consumer into their realm, right? Yeah. Into their ecosystem. And so tapping into technologies like AR and VR, I think is super smart, but then it also gives other industries ideas on, oh, how can I do that? How can I increase my customer loyalty and storytelling? So I love that they're sort of leading the charge there.
Yeah, they really do. And I think they're also really helping the whole industry to experiment and to innovate, because you need brands to innovate, you need money to innovate. And if you don't have investors paying for it, you need brands to pay for it. They give us a lot of freedom as well. So they really ask us, what can we do to actually generate a result with these audiences? And I think it's very positive.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So you've been pioneering in integrating generative AI in fashion for a long time. Can you share how AI has transformed your creative workflow and what you believe is its biggest impact on the future of fashion design?
I love that question. So my newest project is the House of Nova. And that was born when I was in an accelerator program that NASA has. It's the Tech to Transfer program. And I wanted to democratize couture in the sense of using digital technology and emerging technologies to bring that experience to more communities and audiences. So it's converging luxury fashion with AR, VR, blockchain, AI. And so with generative AI, I use it for concepts in terms of designs. I also use it for storytelling. And I use it, of course, with just bouncing ideas back and forth to see what would work and examples and use cases. So research is also a big part of that. And so within the House of Nova, I've had the experience of using generative AI to create fashion design as art. And one of my pieces actually landed on the moon on February 22nd with that historic moon launch. And so from a storytelling standpoint, from a brand awareness standpoint, from a tasking standpoint, generative AI has really assisted me. Now, what is it going to mean for fashion as a whole? Similarly, you're going to expand the opportunities of how you can tell a story, how you can deliver a story, and what can that incorporate. So it's going to really help creatives and designers and marketers expand their imagination and how they can create these more personalized experiences for their audiences.
I think it's interesting that you're saying it has assisted you, because there's obviously a lot to do about AI and is it collaborative or is it basically replacing designers?
Yeah.
But I think you also use it as something that basically helps you to in your creative process, in effectiveness, in maybe how quick you can generate something?
Absolutely. When I first started using generative AI, which was on the image side, like text to image, it literally was like magic. I was like, oh, wait, I can take my words and create a visual image almost instantly. And for artists and creatives, you want to see that idea come to life as quickly as possible. And so it's very efficient from that standpoint. But also, when you mentioned collaboratively, the future is co-creating with AI, collaborating with AI. A term that's used is called hybrid AI. And I talk about this in my new book called The Jockey on the Horse, which is a creative's guide to AI, is how can we as Imagineers and innovators and artists and creatives guide and become more efficient and cross the finish line faster with this new tool called generative AI.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yes. So I'm gonna dive a little deeper here. What are some of the biggest challenges you face when integrating 3D and augmented reality technologies into traditional fashion and luxury narratives, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, so for us the biggest challenge, and I think for anyone who worked with AR and with 3D, it's all real time. So it's basically it has to run on your mobile phone. It has to be quick. It has to you don't want to have any loading times, specifically not if you're focusing on a younger target audience. So for us, the biggest challenge is because we are working for those luxury brands, they have a very specific idea of quality, of course, and craftsmanship. And we have to fit it in a file size of 8 MB max. If you're talking about Snapchat or Instagram, it's like 6 MB. But they still want something, like if you're doing a bracelet for Tiffany's or like a hat for Louis Vuitton or shoes, it has to look real because also the audience, if it feels off, they will drop off and don't want to have to do anything with your brand anymore. That's very extreme, but that is basically how it works. A first negative experience is very, very crucial to not have that, basically. Yeah. So what we do, we create basically a workflow where we can create a mesh, and we work with textures and normal maps to make sure that the actual asset, that the item, looks as real as possible. And nowadays we have mobile ray tracing, we have gemstone rendering, so we can use all these tools and all these features to make something look basically as real as possible and almost not see the difference with a real product. And yeah, but it's still a challenge, also because platforms are having higher demands, like loading times have to be very quickly because, again, drop-off is something that's very negative for brands. So we constantly have to figure out how we can still create something that's very qualitative, but at the same time also loads instantly. So for us, that's something that's really challenging. We create systems like a lazy load system. If we have multiple products, we only load one and only load the next one when the user swipes to the other product. And yeah, that's for us the most challenging, but it's something that also keeps us sharp.
I like that. I like that. As you were sharing, what came to mind was you have your two camps, right? You have those that want this hyper-realistic experience, so you don't lose that feel of real fashion, as you were discussing. And then you have the gaming side where it's okay, the Roblox and the Minecraft and Sandbox, for example, experience, where it's just true gaming and you want to bring those assets in. And then there's the Fortnite experience of the world where it's hyper-realistic and as close to real textures and lighting and movement as possible. So it's really exciting to see how much we've advanced just in the last 12 months, and playing with the technologies. So what do you have for me?
Yes, so there's a growing need to bridge the gap between digital and physical fashion experiences. How do you approach this challenge, and what innovations do you foresee that will seamlessly integrate these two realms for consumers and designers alike?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So what's interesting is most people don't realize how big digital fashion is or the interest that audience and consumers have in digital fashion. So when surveyed, we have 95% of people wanting to purchase a digital fashion asset, and that's huge. And when we have a market size of almost 350 billion in 2023, that's last year, again, there's a demand and a need for this. However, the future, I believe, is the convergence between physical and digital. It is adding value to the digital through the physical asset, where collecting digital wardrobe is going to become more of an activity, for social engagement, but then also you're going to have a lot of speculative activity as well in that space, and then just trading for fun. Like think about, baseball cards, for example, and growing up and trading your baseball cards. Well, we're going to see that with digital fashion assets. And what cool features come with that asset? Oh, I'm going to trade you this for that. Or this was one of a kind, it's minted on the blockchain, and I'm going to actually sell this, and I have the ownership certificate for that. Or when you're looking at the physical, we're seeing both going from physical to digital twins, and then we're seeing digital twin-only experiences as it relates to fashion, and then we have digital fashion for the sake of real-time production or on-demand production to decrease waste and improve more earth-friendly production methods. So I feel that the physical and digital are going to continue to come together, where brands are going to realize they're either going to start digitally native and add aspects of the physical, either through experiences or through physical product, or if they're only in the physical space, what are those digital experiences that they can build on to? And we've seen examples and use cases with these luxury brands like Gucci and Burberry, of course. But then what are other brands going to do? Because that's just scratching the surface, right? That's not the end game. It's just some ways of getting started.
Yeah, and I think nowadays you see, especially in platforms as Roblox, as Fortnite, that fashion is becoming super important, and brands are tapping in there. This is a question that basically taps into this. Mm-hmm. Do you see that users, this is just something that I'm also interested to know, when they create their avatars, they have a lot of choice of what kind of fashion they want to dress their avatar with and how they want to express themselves. Do you see them like more creating something that's totally unrelated to how they live in the real or how they dress in the real world, or something that's actually very much alike how they dress in the real world? Because when I make an avatar, in some way I really dress it as how I would dress in real life. So I'm just curious to
So same way. Like I will do more of a digital twin. Well, it's like I call it like your alter ego versus your digital twin. Yeah. And then so the alter ego, you might be a pink kangaroo, for example. And then digital twin, what I've seen is that people amplify their self-expression into the digital space because you can, right? And so maybe typically you don't wear sunglasses, but your avatar does. Or you don't wear military boots with your suit, but your avatar does. And it's showing more layers of your personality. So that's what I'm seeing as relates to avatars and self-expression. And that's going to continue to be a demand for individuals as we move forward and as we have more digital first experiences. They're going to want to express themselves uniquely, and they're going to see those ways of expression as being valuable, that they can actually, turn into an activity, like I said earlier, for trading or collecting or for investment.
And from a commercial aspect, because I can imagine that, once you think this is something that I wouldn't wear in real life, but it looks very good on your avatar, that you also might, think, okay, I might actually also want to wear something like that in real life. Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of that, actually. There was an instance where Lululemon was in Roblox. They didn't have children's wear, but the Gen Alphas that was playing Roblox wanted to buy Lululemon. And so we're going to see more of that you fall in love with this item in the digital space and like, wait a minute, I want to wear that spray painted pair of pants, or the graphic design sneakers or whatever. And so brands are going to start answering that when they see that demand, and it's going to create whole new streams of income and revenue for different brands.
Yeah, interesting.
So let's talk about emerging trends. So in terms of spatial computing, 3D and augmented reality, and we know you're excited about all three of those, how do you plan to leverage these in upcoming projects to elevate the fashion and luxury experience?
I think what we're seeing is really a very elevated ask from clients for AR mirrors and geolocation-based experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a reason for that, because brands always have, one of their goals is to generate store traffic, of course. Right. You can do it from digital, but there's a ton of people walking by your stores. And how can you make them go into your store? That's a very, that's basically the $1 million question if you solve it. Yeah. And I think a part of solving that, and what we're doing a lot, is by creating AR experience around the store with a geolocation-based experience, which is very accessible for the user, and afterwards might actually draw them inside the store. And I think that's something that's really interesting. Also from a storefront perspective, we're doing a lot with AR mirrors. I think that's something that we're going to see more and more in the very near future. Also because the technology is really advanced right now. You don't need like a super high quality or a depth sensor camera. You can just use a normal 4K camera to track the user's body, from the feet to the head to the eyes to anything, and you can create an AR experience around that. And I think it's much more accessible to stand in front of the store, have a branded experience, which is also a little bit personalized because it's you that you're seeing back on the screen. And that, I think, will also motivate and trigger these users to go in easier compared to very static storefront, for example. So I think that's something we will see more and more into the near future.
That's interesting that you brought up storefront designs and window designs and bringing customers into that brick and mortar experience, because I hadn't thought about that before. But it also made me think about the psychology of fashion. My background started in psychology, so my mind went there, and how much fashion plays into how we feel about ourselves. Of course, there's that personal narrative that we're telling the world. There's the aspect of the individuals around you looking at what you're wearing and the feedback they give you. But then when it comes to fit, for me, I have some hips. And it was challenging finding clothes to fit, and that really affects your self-esteem and confidence. But if I could use AR or VR and these augmented mirrors to help me see what's going to look great on me, maybe from a color perspective, which sometimes is challenging just based on what colors are trending. But for a fit perspective as well, I think that's going to be huge as well on the well-being side as it relates to fashion, and maybe get more guys in the stores who don't like trying things on typically. So I love those examples that you gave.
Hey, so we're talking a lot about AR. I mean, it's an XR convention after all, and it's redefining how we experience fashion from virtual try-ons to immersive runway shows. How do you envision AR further enhancing the consumer's interaction with fashion brands, and what role do you see it playing in your own collections?
Yeah, I would, AI as well, I feel does this, but personalization is a big piece of this. We could talk about sustainability as well and cutting down waste and that. But I feel that individuals are going to gravitate towards these more experiential events, in store. They're going to use their phones and their computer devices, and it may be hardware, to experience new types of fashion. Of course, the fitting is part of it, but it could just be for fun. They're going to be collecting filters as well. And we saw how successful filters were through Snap and now TikTok and IG and all these other platforms. And then, if we're at this event like this and we're showing each other filters and like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I think we're going to see more experiences like that. But I think personalization is going to be key as part of this. And in terms of how I use it, I'm a storyteller. So I'm imagining in-person experiences, doing runway shows where you're adding layers to the story. Let's say the collection is inspired by, the safari, for example, and I have cheetahs walking around the room. I have elephants following the models down the runway. I have beautiful sunsets behind, the men and women that are walking down the runway. So I see AR as another opportunity to layer these experiences as it relates to storytelling, and that goes beyond the personalization and beyond the social experiences.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, it's basically enhancing the user experience with an extra layer of content, which you now can see very easily through your phone. And who knows how you can experience it in a couple of years. I think I'm coming to AW for quite a while, maybe for even 10 years. And every time, when is there coming an AR goggles, AR glasses that are actually fashionable and that you can wear without any headache.
Right.
And every time we're saying, 5 years. But I don't know. I think we're making big steps right now in general. I was trying out the Snap spectacles from 2 years ago, a couple of weeks ago during like a little lab session. And I was still amazed by it, you know. So just stepping into that, I think it will even change more once the hardware allows it to experience it in a way more accessible way with your hands free and you know, just being able to absorb it only through your glasses.
Yeah.
Drifted off a little bit there.
Yeah, I agree. Your a wristband, a watch, your glasses, or you can maybe frames that have this interchangeable device that allows you to have that experience. What else do you see as the future before we dive into questions from the audience?
Yeah, for me, it's really about AR is mostly about understanding the world around you, and that's getting more and more advanced. We see that a lot, you know, with the camera getting smarter. And I think the more the camera understands, the better those experiences will. And again, I keep saying, for me, the AR glasses is just something that I'm really waiting for and eager to see how that will change the way that we interact with media on a daily basis. And you know, having your phone maybe in your pocket, tethered to it, and being able to just, you know, have that device as, I don't know, a replacement for your mobile phone. And I think it's going to change as much as apps on your smartphone did, you know. So I'm very curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, as long as the glasses are sexy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Not the
100%.
clunky. All right, it's time to do questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question? Yeah?
Hello. Oh, okay, this is louder than I thought. Hi, my name is Denise. I'm an AR designer. I also used to be in fashion many years ago. Looking at live events and experiential events, things like the Met Gala, do you guys see ways to activate AR or immersive experiences into events like that?
It's a very good question. And we actually did quite some things for events, also for a lot of fashion events. And what they basically do there is having an AR mirror for people to create like a little bit of a memory moment there and enhance their experience while being there at the event. And this can be as easy as being on a cover. We did some things for Vogue and for Elle, for example. And you know, visitors can just stand in front of the mirror. They can have this little branded experience in front of the mirror, which basically gives them, you know, a little bit of a memory of the event. Yeah. And at the same time, it enables them to also engage a little bit more with the style and the creative thought behind the event. So I think for events, what we still see is mirrors is something that's very important and that brands really like to have out there, also because people love interacting with it.
Yeah, and as the demand for live events continue to increase, we're going to see more examples of, you know, using AR. When you said the Met Gala, what I was thinking about was both experiences with and without hardware. And instead of having the most elaborate costume, it's going to be the most elaborate, you know, AR experience, you know, and does your dress turn into a mermaid as you're walking up the stairs? And so I feel, or is there a theme that incorporates technology and we see 20 to 50% of the attendees of the Met Gala with an augmented outfit, or textiles that change shape or change color. So I do feel that's an opportunity to really showcase what the technology could do from a personal expression standpoint, and then push fashion further as well.
Yeah.
Speak loud. My name is Dia. I'm a freelance AR designer. My name is Dia. I'm a freelance AR designer and creative technologist with Snapchat. And I want to know, like, how do you begin to build relationships with those luxury retail brands, especially as a US-based AR designer? Because I know a lot of the design teams are overseas. So how do you begin to introduce yourself as someone who is available for that service, and then just continue to build that relationship to work on these type of projects?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and for us, it's because we're based in Amsterdam, and we actually work with a lot of luxury brands that are based in the US. All the houses and you know, the fashion houses are mostly in Paris, but for us, it's really it's a process of networking, of showing your work, of you know, being able to showcase what you can do. And for us, a lot of what we do goes through Snap. You know, they introduce it to the brands because the brands approach them to have some presence in their platforms. And then it's all about quality, you know. I mean, for us it was really important to focus on fashion and luxury because I think if you have no focus in AR, it's really hard to accelerate in one specific area. And for us, it was just something that we really love to do. So we also created a team that's really experienced in fashion design and luxury. But I think it's really making sure that your work is out there, share it, and LinkedIn is something that for me still works very well. I have a very specific LinkedIn strategy, which is just showing raw work, you know, not something that's edited, but really something that I just shoot at the office, and that shows that it's real, that it's raw, and that it's not something that's post-produced, for example. And yeah, people love to see that, and I think, you know, once they have an understanding of what you can do and what's your specific skill, then it's also easier to reach out to them and to get in touch with them.
Time for one or two more questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was.
Hello, I'm Simone from Brazil. I would like to ask you what kind of software you suggest design for someone that's starting in this area, in this content? Software like designers
Oh, you
to
said
close
software?
it. Yes, to close it and fashion design.
Yeah, that's a great question. Clo 3D is great. Browseware, Blender, which is open source. Maya is another one. Marvelous Designer is another one as well. Style 3D is another software. So any of those would be great starting points. You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm a creative developer and really interested in the industry of using XR for retail and branding. But I'm really curious, how do you think of the market right now? How do they accept the XR technology in the use of branding for the fashion brands? And because we haven't seen any those XR things in real product, we only see them on social media.
Yeah, I would say it's independent designers and creative agencies that are helping larger brands bring this forward, or independent brands bringing this forward. What I've seen are like QR codes being scanned, and you could see a filter come to life right off of a clothing item, for example. And we're really just scratching the surface. I often say we're day one of 10,000. So this is a perfect time to explore what you want to do in this space and to bring new use cases forward. But we are seeing AR as one of the ways that fashion is going to truly evolve. So we've seen some exciting use cases with generative AI, but definitely keep an eye on AR because it's going to really push experiences as a storytelling forward, and that's what fashion is at the end of the day. It's a personal story we're telling to the world.
Right, but like in your practice, do you think the clients, would they pay for the experience you built for them, or you just...
Yes, actually, I think 30%, consumers actually will pay 40% for a product that has an AR experience.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, I think that's our time, but thanks. Let's give a great welcome to, and thank you to Nova and David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.